Last Spine Productions presents The New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content. Do not listen to The New Way before consulting your doctor. Common side effects of The New Way include insomnia, strange dreams, headache, dizziness, diarrhea, constipation, increased penis size, cats, erections lasting longer than Lawrence of Arabia, a sudden urge to vote for Democrats, dishonorable oily discharge, tremors, the creatures not the bodily reaction, and all the farts. Listener discretion is advised.
I'd really rather know if this is still the pointless forest.
You don't have to have a point to have a point, do you?
This is the worst day of my life. The orgasmatron shorted out on me, gave my penis an electric shock. You didn't like that?
What are you trying to do? Kill me? And don't swear!
Are you hurt?
What's that look like? Ketchup?
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The New Way podcast, coming to you from Last Pint Productions Studios in Boynton Beach, Florida. I am Matt. I'm here joined in studio with Nick Santacroce. Say hi, Nick.
Hey guys, we've got your emails, we've listened to your phone calls. You want less Ben Wilson, so here you go.
Yeah, we have no Ben Wilson tonight, but we have replaced him with another contributor of ours from the past, Mr. Kevin Thompson, Sans twin brother this time. How's it going, Kevin?
Hi, everyone.
He'll talk enough for both of them.
That's right. He's already talking up a storm right now. You might remember...
Might have a celebrity guest stopping in sometime.
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah.
Well, what's really great is that we actually played our celebrity guest quite a bit on the last podcast.
Okay, so maybe he won't stop by.
And he... I am trying to get my volume here. There we go. So we did a lot of Paul Lynde on last week's episode. And oh my goodness gracious. Let's try this again. 1 second.
I can't...
Nick, we'll carry it for a second. I'm going to clear my throat for like 10 seconds. Go.
Well, I'm really happy to talk about some childhood movies here. I asked my sister, what are some of the movies that we watched the most as children?
We'll get to that in just that
You
one.
said kill time.
After these commercial messages.
Listen.
Thanks, Nick. Okay.
Listen. I always think it takes too long to get into the topic, and then also when you just throw it to me, you're coughing up a lung over there.
Work is hard.
You're the leader. You're the host. I can't be expected to carry a podcast. I'm the color man.
We're peeking everywhere here. Please calm for just a second. Thanst.
We need Ben back.
Okay, so
Ben is the glue that holds it together.
Nick, please. Okay. No, I want to talk about a couple of things.
I'm doing a bit, man.
I wanted to get in a couple of things before we get into our topic for tonight, because I don't know how long we'll actually go through in the topic. But one of the things I did want to talk about last week's Halloween episode, which everyone out there will have heard by the time this one airs. We did have a lot of Paul Lynde, and you may know Paul Lynde from, Kevin on the podcast.
Let me tell you a story about the time I went to Clearwater.
And you might know Paul Lynde also if you watch the most recent Hot Ones with Tenacious D when Jack Black did his Paul Lynde impersonation.
Hi, how are ya?
Who did it better? I think it's clear.
I think it was a Kevin win on that one.
It's clear.
But the most important thing we learned from Paul Lynde last time is this.
You know, there's a real scary holiday coming up. Election Day.
Which, for us to get just half serious for just a half a second, Election Day is coming up very soon. If you've listened to the podcast, you can kind of tell which way most of us lean at this point. But get out there, get out and vote. Get out and vote. I mean, whether you are going to try to keep the current administration or not, you need to go out and vote and make your voice heard. And I think
I disagree. If you're voting for any Republicans, stay the fuck home. In fact, I implore everyone to move to Texas, register as a Texas voter, and vote for my man Beto.
Yeah, Beto's not going to get a vote, I don't think, from Mom, but she's trying.
Beta,
she's trying to. She's like warmed up to like sending me nice articles about Beto, but she's still not probably going to vote for him. She'll still
like,
vote for Ted Cruz.
They're like, you know what? I'd much rather, instead of that tall, handsome, eloquent, science-based man, I'd like that Weasley little car salesman who I can't even get 10 seconds through a YouTube clip before I have to turn it off because it's so grating. I'd rather listen to Pee Wee Herman. I can get through Pee Wee Herman because at least he's got a good heart.
True, this is true. He does kind of look like evil Pee Wee.
Like evil Pee Wee and Eddie Munster.
Ted Cruz kind of was like
that's what we're saying. Yeah, Ted Cruz is evil. Definitely evil Pee Wee.
He who has no name. We're trying not to reference him.
Whoops.
Mr. Cruz.
If you say it 2 more times, he'll appear.
So however you're voting, educate yourself a little bit. Go out there and vote. And if you're in Florida, vote for Andrew Gillum because it's going to be fucking awesome when he wins. You're not going to want to be on the side that loses that election. So just vote for Andrew. It's just easy.
You like to be a winner, right?
It's just
vote
easy.
blue.
The other thing, so I want to also, anytime we go to see a movie, I think it would be nice on the podcast for us to do kind of a quick capsule review. So Nick and I both saw Venom last night.
We sure did.
So Nick, I want your 60-second concise Venom review. Go.
Okay. Eddie Brock, lovable loser, moves to San Francisco to start a new life with his girlfriend Michelle Williams, the worst actress in any movie I've seen so far this year. Alienates her by stealing an email, doing some research on a mysterious foundation doing space experiments, when suddenly a symbiote, an alien life form, is brought back from space where they find out that it can
This is your
attach to a
review?
host. Oh, you said give it 60 seconds? Give it
60-second review. Not the plot synopsis.
Honestly, Kevin.
Well,
I don't know what I did wrong.
You've got about 20 seconds left, so
I didn't want to stop you, but
Kevin, I don't know what I did wrong. I came in here. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
He's barking at me to
the ringmaster's.
Now I'm not doing it right. Just tell me what you want, and I'll tell you. Just be concise.
I did 60-second concise review.
I didn't see it, so I would like a
review. I don't know how you define
all right.
review.
5 out of 10 stars. You happy?
And there's no Spider-Man.
There's my review. No,
Okay,
no
good.
Spider-Man.
Thanks
5
for
out of
playing
10.
along, Nick.
So don't go see the movie thinking that you're going to see Spider-Man.
You could have just let me finish instead of stop me. I'm sorry I misunderstood you. Now you're mad at me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm afraid to talk.
I give up. Anyway, so my 60-second review, I thought the first act was boring as anything, and I didn't like the first act because it took too long to get there. Once Venom showed up, it turned into a Little Shop of Horrors sequel, and it was fucking hysterical for a good hour, and then it turned into a CGI fest
Did he
at
have
the
the
end.
voice?
He doesn't have the. He just has a big. I'm Venom, blah blah blah, and I thoroughly enjoyed the whole middle section of the movie, and the bookends just didn't work for me. But I liked it overall. I'd watch it again, half of it.
As per usual, I sometimes feel like you could give Matt and I a DNA test, and it would be like a 90% match. Sometimes I feel like we're so alike, but as evident in some of our spurts, I loved the first act and really kind of fell off for the rest of the movie. So everything he liked, I was totally lukewarm on. I loved the setup. I loved everything that happened before the symbiote appears. Although I did enjoy the banter and I did enjoy the campiness of it, because you're talking about an alien that latches onto a host but can still talk independently. So Tom Hardy's hearing voices at first before you even see the symbiote, and he looks like he's, struggling with some mental illness until it finally does appear with these fangs and these eyes, and it's fun, but it turns into too much of a mess for me at the end.
Yeah, the end's a little whatever. The end doesn't quite work for me, but I like listening to the two of them. If the whole movie was just them bantering, I'd been happy for the whole running time. But
and it was Tom Hardy doing the voice of Venom too, right?
Which is pretty impressive. He does a pretty good job with the difference between the two. But yeah, I dug it. Overall,
it's
I dug
like a demonic cookie monster is how I would describe the voice.
I agree with that 100%. I'd recommend it for whatever reason you want. Yeah,
C is for cookie.
Hungry. I just like him like
cookies.
Hungry. I also read that apparently there was like a big fight with the director over the lobster tank scene where Eddie gets in a live lobster tank
because apparently Tom Hardy said, no, I don't want to get into water with fake lobsters. I want to get into an actual lobster tank. This apparently caused a massive fight on set, which I think is the funniest fucking thing to get into an argument over.
It's like the anti-Bill Murray. He's like, I will not
didn't want to get the real lobsters. Or...
Not one dollop of marshmallow.
I think they had real lobsters at one point in there, and then he just gets in there first to cool off, and then he just starts eating live lobsters, which is fantastic.
Wait, in the movie he was eating live lobsters?
He grabs one when he first gets in the tank.
I remember the scene, but what I'm saying is they were live in real life when they filmed the movie?
I don't know who wound up winning, but Tom Hardy was adamant that he get into a live lobster tank.
Well, you can't say at the end of the movie.
A live
no, not
that's
bite
my
it.
question.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that on film.
I mean, you can. You just don't get that fancy approved.
You get in real trouble with Pete. That's what I think that happened with Wolf of Wall Street when Jonah Hill eats the goldfish. He wasn't allowed. He had to hold the goldfish in his mouth, and then he had to pretend to chew on it, and they had to spit it out. But then one of them accidentally died from
that
being
was okay though.
shocked and it being in his mouth.
I'm sure the goldfish would have been okay after that.
They didn't learn enough from the Fish Called Wanda fish eating scenes. But
what's more cruel, getting stuck inside Jonah Hill's mouth for 5 minutes, or just saying, you know what, I'm out, I'm checking out?
Fish have fucked up lives, man.
I could have gone down the toilet, but instead.
If you want to have a good high conversation, think about the fucked up life of fish. Like there's nothing good for them. Think about what happens when one of them gets caught and then gets thrown back in the ocean. Like that scars them for whatever little life they probably have left at the end of that.
They've got the 5-second memories, So.
Like imagine if that happened to us.
True.
We're like, oh shit, watch out for those like giant aliens that take us every so often and then throw us back down.
Unless you're directed by Guillermo del Toro, in which case you get laid.
Exactly. Now, the only other thing I want to talk about before we get into our topic.
Wait, you said, wait a minute. You look like you were on the verge of a epiphany there.
Of the fish? I was saying, wait a minute, that what if alien abductions are like fishing for aliens? That's why people get beamed up and then they get sent back down. Maybe those aliens are over their limit and can't bring that anymore, and then the ones that just disappear get cooked.
I mean, clearly they're going to erase your memory.
That was the profound statement.
But you'll have bruises that you can't explain. That's always.
So there's an RIP this week that is very near and dear to my heart that I'm very upset about. And this is the fact that Sears is going out of business for good. They're declaring bankruptcy, going the way of Toys R Us.
The Roebuck stops here.
And I'm not...
But they've done that before, but you think...
I mean, they're like done now. Like, whatever it is now is... Sears is gone. And I'm not upset about the store Sears. I don't care about going to shop at Sears. But... the Sears catalog is so instrumental to my youth.
Oh no!
For any number of reasons, it's not just.
It gave you a little bit more than the Victoria's Secret issue gave you.
Not just the control top panties ads, which I didn't understand what that meant.
Because Kevin, you can't just go straight to the Victoria's Secret catalog when you're a kid. You got to graduate.
That's true. I mean, some people's moms don't get the Victoria's Secret catalog.
We didn't.
Or you got to work
catalog.
your nerve up. You got to work your nerve up before you start with the Sears.
I had JCPenney, I had Macy's, and I had the pinnacle of all of them, which was Sears. Because Sears not only had great lingerie.
How often did that catalog come out?
They had a fall one that had all of the Christmas shit in it. So that was also how I would build like lists for Santa as I go through the fucking Sears catalog after I was done looking at the lingerie and I'd unstick the pages.
Was it really great lingerie? All I can remember is like the Linda Carter Wonder Woman underwear that goes up to the waist.
Those are the control top.
You can cover your belly button or you cannot.
Look, there was always at least one that might have been see-through, but you didn't really know, but you kind of thought it might be. You thought there was a nipple there, but you had to look real hard and use your imagination, or you just penciled it, which is a real good way, real good tip for the kids out there. But
the old Sears shear.
Well, but you also on the Sears catalog had, I remember Batman '89. Looking at all the toys for months. All the Batman toys were in the Sears catalog, and I could see the Batcave and the Batmobile and the Batwing. I was like, this is all I want in my life. And I remember distinctly the saddest night of my childhood was the night that my brother refused to take me to see Batman on opening night. He went with all of his friends, and I sat at home with my sad Sears catalog and the Batman toys, and
furiously masturbating.
With your tears.
The Bruce Wayne Batman crossover figure, which looked amazing. But it was still in attention. Want to empty nuts? No, we went there. But
you went there.
But listen, rest in peace, Sears Roebuck catalog. Sears
I
catalog.
hadn't heard that.
My first drum set I bought out of a Sears catalog.
I mean, I'm upset about Toys R Us.
That was pretty rough. It was not good for our business either.
I mean, I love the smell of the Toys R Us toy stores just going in there.
Wait, what?
The smell of a Toys R Us toy store.
There's a definite smell.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Kind of like houses have smells. Yeah. There was a Toys R Us smell.
My parents never took me to
Toys R Us. It was like GAC and
exactly,
and like video game wrappers.
Yeah, really, exactly. Like when you open a toy sometimes.
Yeah.
I do love that wrapper smell. That rubbery cellophane.
Yeah,
straight
it's
from
a
the
good
factory.
smell. Oh yeah. That's good stuff. That's called chemicals.
I just like the smell of gasoline.
Maybe there's something about Toys R Us we didn't know.
I think that's definitely our generation. Because remember we were at, I don't know if she did it at the shoot that you were at, Nick, but in my business with the gel clings and the window clings, we produced this line of foam clings, and the first batch, they sent us like the test batch, had a real strong smell to them. And it was like crack cocaine for any kid that loved the smell of markers or new wrapping or anything. But like I remember smelling them, I was like, we can't sell these. And then, like we had to go to China and they had to like air them out and do all of this stuff to like get the smell to go away. But it's like, but I still have some of the good stuff, the original batch, and man, I just take a whiff out of that bag.
Ever really goes away, does it?
Oh no. Well, not on the ones that the bad ones. It's still there. I've had them for months.
I feel like anything I buy from China, I have to air out. What are they airing out?
Well, what's funny is China does have a lot of strange fragrances that you don't have in the States. Jasmine was the most overbearing one that I smelled there. Like everywhere, either has real jasmine flower smell or they're pumping a lot of artificial jasmine smell, which is really bizarre.
I thought that was cool when you came back that you said you'll always associate that smell
forever.
with China. Yeah,
I'll never. That's the one thing. If I smell that smell, I'm right back there, and I think that's the same as your Toys R Us smell, and same for me as like at Disney.
It's a Toys R Us smell.
They used to have the orange scent in the Horizons ride at Epcot, and that was like a smell that like was a special orange cleaner that they used. Also, the popcorn smell that they pipe through Disney World to get you to buy popcorn because they're evil geniuses, which is true. I think they got in trouble for it and they had to stop, but they had secret air pumps all over Disney World pumping popcorn smell so that you would smell it everywhere you went and you'd want to go buy it, even if it wasn't near you. Which is fucking crazy mind control shit.
Well, I'm just glad that when you think Jasmine, you don't go the bad Aladdin route, because I know you said think something very different.
Listen, live action Aladdin coming up soon. I want to see that Jasmine.
Okay, can we talk about that teaser real quick?
Sure, let's do it.
So, have you seen the new live action?
I think I maybe saw a photo from it, but not.
It seems they don't show anything. Like, spoiler alert. Like, they show is the Cave of Wonders.
They did the same thing with Beauty and the Beast.
Did they really?
It was just the rose, but the Beauty and the Beast had that good theme. It had that, and it was just.
They played the Arabian Nights theme song, right? Which is when you're going through these sand dunes, right?
And then it cuts into Prince Ali and Friend Like Me.
You know, who are they going to have play the genie or like?
Will Smith is the genie, and it's directed by Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie or Danny Boyle?
Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle, I think. Oh my God, Guy Ritchie that would be weird.
It's weird that Danny Boyle is directing it too, but
this is the story all about how stuck in a lamp. I have nothing after that. I'm sorry.
That was great. No, I think it is. I think it's Guy Ritchie.
I think it is too.
I think it's Guy Ritchie doing it.
I don't know what to say.
I mean, it's funny though, because I was going to say it was just like the movie, and I felt like even the Cave of Wonders looked like a tiger, tiger face. It looked exactly the same, and I thought that at least we know that Will Smith's genie. I mean, that's not going to look like Robin Williams' genie, right? I think that actually in his contract, nothing can look like that genie.
Yeah, actually, I think that's true.
But like the cave does look exactly like lifted from
and the voice
cartoon.
too.
Yeah, same
it's
thing.
Got the Venom voice. They brought Tom Hardy in for a day.
Disturbs my slumber. Feed me.
It is what lies within, a diamond in the rough, Eddie.
I guess you're right though, because Beauty and the Beast felt different once you get into it, but
But it was Beauty, and I thought it was funny because Beauty they have a clear model. This is our live action shit. We don't really have anything to show you. We're gonna show you one person, one real life person.
Did the live action Aladdin have that badass fez, or did they get rid of the fez?
He has a fez, I believe, in the shot. He looks a little weird.
I think you'd have to. You wouldn't know it was Aladdin if he didn't have the fez.
He better fucking fez.
Be a Shriner.
Now we'll say I think I noticed this in that shot when he's standing. I don't think he's bare chested, which I'm a little concerned about because of Aladdin don't wear no shirt. He just full vests it. He just does the vest. That's all
vest
he needs.
and MC Hammer parachute pants. That's
yes,
it.
and I'm a little upset that he's not going to be showing off some skin because I think we need some equal opportunity skin showing in our live action Disney movies.
I want midriffs abound.
Jasmine's showing her midriff.
But it's probably going to be rated G too, right? Or maybe
rated PG.
Well, let's just say a hard
PG. 13, maybe a
hard PG.
Soft PG-13.
If they keep that scene where Jafar hypnotizes Jasmine, she gets in that red number.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're all waiting for. Am I right?
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
That's happening.
That's good stuff. I'm excited. Yeah, there's lots of live action. We got Dumbo. We've got Lion King. We've got Aladdin all coming up next year.
You know, Beauty and the Beast. Okay, I think this will probably be okay. Jungle Book, I thought was fucking great.
Yeah, I like
feel
Jungle Book.
like that formula with the CGI animals and getting. You know,
I mean, it's but it's Favreau, man.
And of course.
Yeah.
You know, Favreau and Guy Ritchie is a far cry.
Yeah.
But I still think that the animal ones are a better translation. I mean, I was all in on that. Have you seen the Jungle Book one?
Clips.
Pretty good.
Not enough to really.
I watched it because I was bored, and like it was, and people were saying it was good. I was like, I got nothing else to watch. Totally in.
But I'm sure you're watching it too. Like you're saying, okay, well, how's this different from the cartoon and something like that? So and they all seem like they're pretty spot on. Like the Beauty and the Beast parts I saw pretty much looked like they were spot on.
Yeah,
from the cartoon, you know. Like,
and it
but
was
I haven't
good,
seen the cartoon in forever. So
I mean, the cartoon is great.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
that's why I think the Cats musical movie will be good.
Yeah,
if they CGI the Cats.
I just can't. This idea of Avatar cats running around. It's all I feel is gonna be Avatar. It's gonna drive me crazy.
They're gonna do cats, but they're gonna do rotoscope. It's gonna be.
Yeah, I don't.
They're
want,
gonna get Ralph
Bakshi CGI cats, man.
He wants to see Idris Elba's live action bulge, and I think that there's no way you pull off Cats live action with an A-list cat. It'd be too weird.
That's part of the fun is watching these embarrassed assholes in their tights.
Yeah, if you can go from animation to live action, why can't you go to live action animation?
I think you can. I think it would actually make it.
It could be like fucking Heathcliff.
It would make it different. It could. I mean, Cats has no story. It literally has no story. It's just a Kentucky Fried movie of every cat. You know, and every cat has a section, and it's great music. And then the play was funny because there's fucking people in cat suits and they're prancing around. But if they really, if you get like
are they gonna
Pixar,
be,
Brad Bird,
are they going to be like normal sized cats? Like just little, like can they just be regular cats dressed in costumes?
Well, no, Matt, they're all different sizes. I mean, Deuteronomy is a bigger cat. And
no. I mean,
smaller,
I mean, are they going to be human cat hybrids? Or are they just going to be cats?
This isn't the island of Dr. Moreau.
Wait, you think it's going to just be cats?
Crossover.
I want it to be cats.
Cats meets
wait.
Story.
Hold on a second.
Real cats.
I was legit joking about this. I assume when you said the CGI, you meant they'd like be Avatar. Like they would be models of the tall human-sized cat. So you think it's going to just be little cats running around singing cats?
I want it to be. I want the A-listers to be mocap, but I want them to be actual cats, like Jungle Book.
There's no way they're going to do. There's
I would favor
no way.
Toons' like approach.
Real
cat head, fake cat head.
What if you just threw Toons in there and just gave him his own?
You can't do the choreography with actual cats. They're not shaped like humans.
But yes, you can with a talented team.
I mean, the
artists.
The dance sequences are going to suffer.
I legit
Yes,
thought you meant,
or are they?
Yeah,
or are they?
I mean, I legit thought you meant the Avatar size ones, which I still think is a bad idea too. But
no. Real cats. Think of like a cool Rum Tum Tugger, but he's an actual house cat, you know? Like and like Gus the Railroad. They're real cats. They're cat sized. And like I picture it like Muppet Babies,
so it's gonna be
where you see humans, but only like from the legs down. It could be awesome. Like
it's gonna be like that talking cat movie with Kevin Spacey, or any of the other talking animal movies that are
terrible.
terrible.
Don't talk about Kevin.
I mean, you're talking about Kevin Spacey because it's a terrible movie. But
what movie are you talking about?
Not the Secret Life Cat. It's called
Pets. Secret Lives of Pets.
No, that's the cartoon. There is a one where he plays a cat, and other ones play a bunch of animals. Those movies are always terrible. The animation always looks awful. The cats are too small
who's directing
to do.
Cats? Who's helming it? Someone awesome.
It's Rob Marshall.
Yeah, so it'll be if he
directs human musicals, not CGI cartoons.
Well, maybe he wants to reinvent himself.
Well, yeah.
I think you might be right that it's CGI and that it's mocap where they're like tall, like they're built like cats.
But then why do? Listen, that's
you do that so you don't have to squish Ian McKellen and James Corden into spandex.
No,
that's why.
Listen, if you make them human sized, you're gonna put Ian McKellen in that cat suit. There's no reason to make human-sized cats CGI if you have humans.
I agree with that too. But
so you either go real A-list actors in physical cat suits with their dicks hanging out, or you go my much more thought out route of little CGI cats.
Do you know how many tickets?
But they would still be choreography because the actors would be mocap.
Do you know how many tickets Paul Mammalito will buy because he can see Idris Elba in a tight suit and Taylor Swift in a tight cat suit side by side at the same time? I mean, that's an Oreo delight for him right there. So anyway, okay, now
dip it in milk.
now on to the topic of the evening.
Can we just talk about cats for a moment?
I think we've exhausted cats as much as we can.
All say,
so I wanted for tonight's topic to...
I was raped by Mr. Mistopheles.
Oh, no. Don't you bring Mr. Mistopheles into this.
For tonight's topic, I kind of wanted to cover some movies that we haven't necessarily covered in the past on the podcast, or movies that necessarily probably don't get a lot of discussion just because they're not really the main staples. When everyone talks about movies that are kind of iconic for them as they were growing up, you'll hear Goonies or Back to the Future, or things like that. You hear less maybe Monster Squad, which we have talked about on the podcast before, but there's sort of these lesser known movies. They might be known decent, but they weren't the winner that year of kind of the kids flick or the middle teens flick or anything. So I kind of wanted to see what everybody came up with as far as movies that for whatever reason meant something to you, or maybe you watched them a lot because of a certain reason, or watched them with someone, just something that kind of evoked something from your childhood. So Nick,
you don't want to start off? Start us off.
Okay, so my first one is my first favorite Joe Dante movie next to Gremlins, which is Explorers.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Looney Tunes back in action.
It was so close.
You could have gone so many directions with that.
So Joe Dante is a staple of my childhood. He directed episodes of Police Squad, which was the series that was turned into The Naked Gun. He did Gremlins. He did Inner Space, which is just a fucking classic.
You've seen Police Squad, right, Kevin?
Yeah. The Burbs, Gremlins 2, and he did a series called Erie, Indiana, which was fucking phenomenal with Omri Katz in it. Just a great kids' Twilight Zone.
It was about a season, right?
It had 2.5, and they had like the weird third season with James Marsden's brother that did the voice of
Max from Goofy Movie.
Yeah, Max from Goofy Movie that came in as X or something X in the one season.
And the Torkelsons.
Yeah, it got weird. The show got a little bit weird, but it was a great show. But he directed this movie called Explorers with a young Ethan Hawke, young River Phoenix, and it's a great storyline. This kid is kind of like a geeky kid, watches a lot of like sci-fi movies at night, and he keeps having these dreams of this circuitry. See, at first it looks like a city, but you realize it's actually a circuit board. So he shows it to his friend whose name is Wolfgang, which is fucking great, which is River Phoenix, plays this like super genius kid. And he goes, hey, I think that's a circuit board. Keep drawing stuff from your dreams. So he draws this thing out, and they build it in this kid's lab, and they bring in their other friend who's kind of like the tough kid.
Weird science.
Exactly. And they build what is essentially is a bubble that takes away the effects of inertia. So you can use it to travel far distances, slow distances, where you can stop and start, but there's no jerkiness or anything. It doesn't affect you. And then they start getting more dreams with more information. They figured out how to get more oxygen into it and all this stuff. So they decide to build a spaceship to go inside the bubble. They take an old tilt-a-whirl car, and they name it Thunder. What the hell's it called? Thunder Road, after the Bruce Springsteen. And they fly to outer space. And as soon as they break the atmosphere, they get caught by this spaceship. And it's these two crazy fucking aliens, Whack and Neek. And all Whack and Neek know about them is from watching TV, very much like Galaxy Quest. They've watched TV shows, so they speak in just commercial talk and old like Groucho Marx routines, all this stuff. And the kids are like, well, you should come back. We thought we were going to learn more about outer space and why we're here. But you should come back to Earth. And they're like, no. We've seen what happens when aliens come to Earth. And they start showing them all of these like old movies from our time, like War of the Worlds and stuff. Like the aliens always get killed. So kids are like, okay, this is kind of upset. And then all of a sudden, the ship starts to get taken over by a bigger ship. And they're like, oh my God, what is going on? And they find out that the 2 aliens that kidnapped them are kids. They don't know it because they're these weird, like, alien creatures. And it's the parents are getting the kids because the kids took their ship out for a joyride and summoned the children into the thing. This whole, like, fucking crazy ordeal in space. But it's an amazing Goonies-esque thing. You get these 3 kids.
This.
I've seen maybe parts of it.
It is, first of all,
Ben
Ethan
loves
Hawke.
it too, right? I think he's brought it up before.
Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix are fucking phenomenal, and the third kid is great too. And what sucks is it ends on this great cliffhanger that the parents allow to let the kids go and go back to Earth, and they go back to Earth and the ship crashes and it's gone forever. And then the kid starts getting dreams, but now all of the friends show up in the dreams as well, and it's a whole series of circuit boards, meaning that they had this idea that they could go to infinite places and build infinite kind of things. It was a great like cliffhanger sort of
quick in and out adventure.
Exactly. I guarantee there's some Rick and Morty references from the Explorers, but it is a highly underrated Joe Dante movie. It's everything you like about Joe Dante and everything else.
I gotta see that.
It's so good. I have it on DVD and Blu-ray, I think. Both.
What are you doing after this, Kevin?
I would say it's an hour and a half quick flick. It's I'd be game. But
interesting.
Highly recommended. That was my 80s. I watched that movie constantly because it's a great movie for kids because it's all of these friends playing to their strengths to work together to go on this crazy adventure. And you've got like the kids that are shy or that are nerdy or that are cool, and they all are coming together to make it. It's very, like I said, Goonies has kind of that same idea where it's all of these people of different walks of life. Monster Squad, it's probably a little more like Monster Squad than is like Goonies, but it's great. I highly recommend. It's called Explorers by Joe Dante in, I believe, 85.
See, that's a really good example because Kevin and I haven't only seen it. Everyone had that movie that like they watched a million times as a kid.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily
that's the hardest to think of something like that. Not everybody else has seen that. Yeah.
It's tricky.
We all have that movie we've all seen, right?
Yes.
But that's
Debbie Does Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, what's yours?
Well, you just stepped on my hand, sir. So, do you guys remember All Dogs Go to Heaven? You see that movie?
Oh, wow. I know of it. I've seen parts of it. I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
I saw it. Yeah, maybe I saw it in theaters.
It stands up. Like, I called my sister, because you kind of mentioned this too.
Yeah.
And I asked her, like, do you remember... I was hoping she would like jog my memory, and she like immediately came
Burt
back.
Reynolds was the dog, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise.
We talked about this when
Charles
Burt Reynolds
Nelson
died, right?
Riley. Yeah. And honestly, Burt Reynolds does not phone this in. Like he's really good in this movie, and the plot is, and this is like a common theme for stuff that I loved as a kid. It's kind of a lost art, and the Goonies is definitely an example of it.
It has to do with the afterlife.
Well,
Ben was right. For someone who does not believe in God, your filmography loves are all religious based.
It's not religious, though. It's not religious.
All dogs go where?
It says it's very loosely.
Well, it's dog heaven. I mean, they didn't specify.
That's
not people heaven. They don't,
Oh, so he believes in dog heaven, but I get
yeah.
it. So you believe in dog afterlife and not people afterlife. Okay, I got that.
That's how I like it.
Did they make a distinction, dog heaven and people heaven?
I mean, isn't that far-fetched that we're
if
all
I don't
going
get to
to
see
hell?
my dogs when I go to heaven, I'm just gonna go to hell.
Well, listen, I'm sure they'll have a version of it, but all dogs go to heaven. That's
all dogs go to Baltimore.
That's in fact the crux of the film.
Baltimore, Maryland.
But where I was
They
getting
just go north.
all dogs go to heaven, one. But here's
all dogs go to Ocean City.
All dogs go to Ocean City
you know.
for their vacation and jump in the water, bring their bones. But what it had was not religion, or it had, of course, Don Bluth, who had just taken the world by storm with American Tail and a Troll in Central Park. Nice later. What I loved about it was it didn't like talk down to kids. It had some pretty like pretty hefty concepts, right? Number one, introducing the afterlife in any form is really interesting, and they had this motif, right? Charlie, the Burt Reynolds dog, dies, and when dogs go to heaven, all dogs go to heaven, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. When he gets there, he's greeted by this angelic, like, greyhound dog, and she's sweet and comforting.
Is she hot?
Yeah, she's pretty hot for a dog. And she brings him into this room full of watches. And when every dog dies, they get their watch. Every dog, unbeknownst to them, there's a watch that represents their life that ticks up in heaven. And when they die, they're given the watch, and it's no longer ticking. But it's sort of like it's a memento. This is your
good world building there. I like that.
Right. So what he does is he decides. I mean, here this dog is like selling him in the afterlife. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's great. But meanwhile, all he can think about is like, fuck, I'm too young to die. He's a narcissist. He's this like this con man dog in like purely Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
And he winds his clock back. And she warns him, it's like, if you fuck with this, you can never come back. Like, I know we said all dogs go to heaven, but you only get to come once.
Oh. Where do you go if
you die again, it is heavily implied that you go to hell.
Whoa.
Dog hell. Okay? So as a kid, like, this blew my mind. The concept is really, like, for a kid.
So the idea that only bad people will try to go back, and maybe that's why they wind up going to hell, or they give them a redemptive chance.
Maybe. But so basically, he does redeem himself, like because he runs in this...
dog that bit the neighbor is going to go to hell. And like,
no, they still go to heaven.
Yeah,
if they wind their clock back and go back to Earth, that's it. They never get a second chance.
That part's fucked up. Imagine if that was for us. Like,
I guess
Hitler
goes
to heaven, and he decides not to turn his watch back, and Hitler lives in heaven. Like, he's like your next door neighbor. It's like, oh, fuck, I get the house next to Hitler. Sucks.
Well, Hitler's not a dog.
Someone needs to go turn his watch back.
Hitler's not a dog.
No, I'm saying if
Hitler's German Shepherd.
If humans worked like that, it'd be kind of fucked up. Like, for bad dogs to just like get a free pass just as long as they didn't turn their watch back.
Yeah, well, it's
You're
I
debating.
guess you're not supposed to think about it that much. I mean, I think that's any Burt Reynolds movie I thought the most about.
Well, I find this movie highly improbable, Nick.
Anyway, I'll make it
Reed
short.
do any voices?
No, Charles Nelson Riley is in it though, which is like the poor man's Paul Lynde, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But basically, he comes back and like really good voice acting performances. I'm dead serious. Like, it holds up. He runs into this orphan.
Is Sally Field in that too, or is it just Reynolds?
I don't know. No, Lonnie Anderson is in it.
Oh, I was married to Lonnie.
Right. They met on the set of All Dogs. I don't know that. But basically, he runs into...
He was pissing in a fire hydrant.
They both did a guest spot on Highway to Heaven.
He was smelling her butt to see her.
Everyone knows that.
Just rent it. Everyone, just rent it. It's real good. But one last thing I will end with. I have not seen Moana, but I've seen the scene with Jermaine as the crab.
Yeah.
And it is eerily similar to my favorite scenes. I must have watched this a million fucking times. They're in like New Orleans, I think, and there's this alligator that like eats the whole bottom of the seafloor is filled with bones,
Jesus.
like dog bones. I'm telling you, man, it's got some dark to it that I had not seen in a movie. And me and my sister watched this a million fucking times. And basically, she's about to eat Charlie, and he doesn't the alligator doesn't get him all. It just bites his tail, and he screams, goes, "Arr!" and all of a sudden the alligator stops. Like, "You've got a beautiful voice. Like, I can't eat something with such a beautiful voice." And it leads into a song because the alligator's true love is music. So then becomes friends.
Is the song called Heine because he just bit him on the tail? Oh.
Let's make music together. Let's make sweet harmony. Oh,
it sounds like Elton John.
Let's make music together. Pray. It's like RuPaul and Elton John did that song.
Oh my god, it's very sexual.
And also the alligator. I always like, and only now I kind of realize, like, maybe I'm wildly off base on this one, but the alligator sounded like a man, but had lipstick and a nose ring. And there's also like. I mean, you need to watch it again.
It's a transgenderator.
I think honestly, it kind of played like that as a kid, and I didn't really get it until I think about it as an... Anyway, it's honestly, even as an adult, worth going back to this good animation, and it's kind of fucked up, and the villain in it is like ruthless, wants to kill him again. He finds out about the loophole and wants to exploit it because no other dog knows about it because no other dog has ever come back from heaven. It's pretty cool. Anyway, all dogs.
Oh, he's the first one to come back.
He is the first one to come back.
Interesting. I would do an All Dogs Go to Heaven too and find the club of the ones that have gone back and secretly living on Earth.
Watch
fucking crazy. Those are those dogs you see out there.
Snoopy.
Like, that dog is all fucking. Yeah, Snoopy's been around. And Santa's little helper. There's a lot of dogs. Brian the dog, all of them. Kevin, what's your?
It's hard
what's
now
your
because
first?
now with the animation, that makes me think of going back to a kid and a lot of animated movies, even animated movies that like really didn't have happy endings. That's
okay. You don't
like,
have you don't have to do whatever your main ones were.
No, but yeah, like because that made me think of the Little Mermaid as a cart, not the Disney one. But there was a Japanimation one, and it was true to the Hans Christian Andersen story, to where she dies at the end. She can't speak, and she makes a noise, and all any thoughts she has are like echoey, eternal dialogue, and she has to kill him at the end, or she's gonna die, and she basically
turn like sea foam or something.
Foam,
yeah, that's fucked up.
And like as a kid, I remember seeing that, and that was just really just bawling and depressing, and
that'll fuck you up a little bit.
The Hans Christian Andersen,
and it's Japanimation too, so it really kind of, has a extra like just.
Well, it's like all
you're
of
ahead
those.
of the curve with the Japanimation.
All of those, like all of the Hans Christian Andersen and the Grimm's brothers stuff, like the original stories are terrifying. Like most of them are just really creepy. And that you remind me of one. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, that's sorry. Yeah.
No. I the only thing the one I thought of that I don't think we've ever talked about in the podcast. That was a very dark Grimm's fairy tale brought to life on the screen with Billy Barty.
Yeah.
Was Rumpelstiltskin with Billy Barty and Amy Irving, and it's
feature.
A feature film?
No shit.
It was and I think it may have been like produced by Spielberg or Lucas. It might have been when Lucas was with him. One of them was married to Amy Irving.
That was Spielberg.
Spielberg, and they was married to Amy Irving. But it's a fucking, like, my mom took me to see that movie, and it was, like, she let me watch anything, but it was one of those movies you could tell she was uncomfortable when we left. Of like, this is a dark. Billy Barty in that is he goes full Warwick Davis leprechaun as Rumpelstiltskin. It is terrifying.
Oh my god!
Continue.
That took me a while to find out that Warwick Davis was the leprechaun.
He's awesome.
And then that made me think of Lady in White, the
Catherine Hellman.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, hot.
I haven't loved that at all.
Strangely sexual Catherine Hellman. Yeah, the Mona from
Who's the Boss?
Who's the Boss?
And it's just basically
Wait, what is this movie? The Lady in White?
Yeah, a boy basically he's haunted by this girl ghost, and you don't really know. And the story evolves that basically the girl was murdered, and then Catherine Hellman's like the
by
grandmother.
Tony Danza.
Yeah, by Tony. Yeah.
Angela.
Oh, I swear, I thought saw it with your bubbles. But and
that's
then
your
just, I guess it turns
impersonation.
Yeah. I said there was going to be a celebrity guest.
Let me tell you a story about the time I went to Clearwater.
You thought it was going to be Paul Lynde.
And wow, that's neat how you had that on the ready there.
Oh yeah, it's on the board under the letter J.
If you're lucky, Kevin, that'll join the ranks of I love it, and it's Nerd Wrote Motherfucker.
I love it.
Yeah, the classics.
Or this the follow up to so these are now a pair, by the way.
I love it.
You two will love it because Beth is a monster of a hit.
It is.
Beth. I can't believe Paul Lynde says Beth, and it's too perfect.
Beth is a monster of a hit.
I remember him actually saying that in the special.
Yeah.
But it's a monster.
I pulled 10 clips of the Paul Lynde Halloween special for our Halloween special.
The real answer to this topic is the Paul Lynde Halloween special, but we've talked about it so much, we can't possibly get back into it again.
Yeah, Lady in White was a creepy
definitely.
movie.
It was only PG-13, but I just remember that really just...
Which is kind of impressive for... It was sort of a children... Not a children's movie,
yeah,
but
I mean,
like,
it was geared towards children. Like, it did have, like, that Wonder Years kind of looking back on things and, like... Because I think... I want to say, I could be wrong, it was him telling this as an adult, maybe telling
It's
the
been
story
a
as
while
kid.
since I've seen that
I haven't
one.
seen it for a little while.
I just remember because it's Kath. I saw it because it was like, oh, it has Mona in it, but her ghost is like weirdly like sexualized, and she's in like kind of a
she wears like I think she wears a
gown.
nightgown. Yeah, cause
it's like a.
well, she's still alive. She's actually she died.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: she does die. I think she dies. Maybe she doesn't die, but
she has this like sheer nightgown on. I'm like, Mona. Oh my god.
I saw the Sears Robot catalog.
It's a lot of sheer talk tonight. She was not wearing her control top pantyhose though.
Page 242.
Oh, Mona.
Mona, Samantha, Angela, Jonathan.
You wish you could make her Mona. Am I right?
Well, it was a confusing time for me because she was a grandmother, but she had boobs, and they were being shown off, and I didn't know how to deal with this.
Gilf.
Yeah, definitely a gilf. So for round 2, do you have kind of a more out of the 80s, maybe into the 90s flick for us, Nick?
Boy, do I.
Oh, boy. Let's hear it.
Boy, do I. Now, this did not get a theatrical release for reasons unknown. But my sister and I, another thing that we used to watch almost as much as All Stars Come to the Rescue, which was a anti-drug PSA with
That
Michelangelo,
sounds
the
like
Ninja
it.
Turtle, and Alf, and like every cartoon
Alf.
character
Wow,
of
talking
the
about
time. Muppet Babies.
Hey,
It was that's also worth a YouTube, but this is even more of a
Michelangelo says, "Stay away from the crack pipe."
part is whack, bros. I love how they and the best part is the other Ninja Turtles don't appear. Only the obvious stoner turtle is the one who appears in the anti-drug thing. But anyway,
Make condolences, I guess. Yeah.
I feel like Donatello maybe would have been a better spokesman, or Leonardo. You know,
Maybe.
Well, Donatello was the Quick Rabbit, the Nestle Quick Bunny. That was his voice. That was
really?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I never put that together.
Wow. I put all the other ones, like when you
Wow.
mentioned, what's his name? What's his name? Music.
Lorenzo Music.
Lorenzo Music is the Garfield. That was a good callback on that.
I love some Lorenzo Music. But anyway, the movie that I'm about to tell you was sort of like the All Stars Come to the Rescue, because the All Star cast is seriously insane. Okay, this is a cast.
Camp Cucamonga.
Oh, that really could apply
TV
here.
movies count? I don't know.
Well, that could really apply
Unless you
here.
taped them, you could only watch them the one time.
I do own that on DVD, Kevin. I have Camp Cucamonga.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I do.
I know you're a big Camp
Take off a
Cucamonga
TV.
fan, along with me.
God. So listen to this cast. Ready? Shelley Duvall, Cyndi Lauper, Bobby Brown, Little Richard, Art Garfunkel, Woody Harrelson, Debbie Harry. This is all at the height of their popularity.
Woody
Okay.
Harrelson.
Terry Garr, Harry Anderson, Howie Mandel,
Harry
Gene
Anderson.
Stapleton, Paul Simon and Garfunkel are in this movie. Okay.
Oh my god.
ZZ Top, Katie Seagal,
Not
Brian
animated,
Bonsall,
It's got to be animated. They're not live
Gary
action.
Shandling, Elaine Bouchard,
Helene Boozler. I loved her from Night
Cheech
Court.
Marin, Ben Vereen, who you might remember
Wait,
from
who was she in that?
Cats and a lot of other
Webster.
musicals.
He was in
Zoolander.
Webster. He played the uncle.
Webster. Yeah, he was Webster.
Yeah. So this movie that I refer to, and if anyone listening at home got this from that cast, kudos. Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme.
Wow.
And it was a contemporary spin on these, as we mentioned before, fairy tale
And
characters.
90s contemporary spin.
Very 90s. I mean, the whole joke of it was like, imagine the 90s threw up on your fairy tale classic, book, and we're talking Shelley Duvall in full like neon. And honestly, Shelley Duvall, you never say this usually. Shelley Duvall is so hot in that. For your own benefit, Google Shelley Duvall and Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme.
I'm going to do that after the podcast.
Bright,
but-
fiery
The
redhead.
Shining and Popeye didn't kill it for you.
The Shining.
I was gonna say.
Listen, but she has bright red hair. She plays Bo Peep. I mean, with this push-up, I remember, I think it did things to me as a child.
Oh my
I
god.
think
They had
she
to give
joined
the
the
parents
ranks.
something to watch too. I mean,
Jesus.
any
do.
good,
Don't you know it?
Yeah.
And we're talking bright red hair. She's got these checkerboard patterned in bright neon orange and green, and she's like this the original manic pixie dream girl. Joined the ranks of April O'Neil, Gadget Hackenwrench, Jessica Rabbit, all the redheads of my childhood. But the premise is actually pretty funny. Mother Goose goes missing, and the only person that can help them is Gordon Goose, who was, you find out later, is her son. Not because they have the same last name. It's not that she didn't give birth to Gordon. She wrote him. He was her first fairy tale character. Okay?
Okay.
But he was real boring. He's got a black plain hat, a white collared shirt, and khakis the whole time. Everyone else is super colorful. Basically,
it's because nothing rhymes with Gordon.
Does he wear a
It must have been a shitty story about him.
Well, the joke is that
Gordon played with his organ, and he was a Fordin, not the Gordian.
The joke is that he was a shitty first pass, and she had to get her legs under her before she started creating the three blind mice and Georgie Porgy and shit. And basically, he comes to the land of fairy tales thinking that he's not like the other people, and that he's not as good of a fairy tale character. But he ends up, of course, saving the day. If you Google this, it is if you watch this on mushrooms, you might never come back to reality. It's a fever dream. It's totally schizophrenic and crazy.
Is there music? It must be music. Yeah.
Who needs the mushroom?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
There's a scene where he gets thrown into a dungeon, and there's sort of a Twisted Sister heavy metal song in the middle of nowhere. Like a precursor to Slipknot. All of a sudden the music switches up to it's insane. And honestly, we should watch that too. We should wait till we get a couple more.
That's got to be another quick hour and a half, man.
The quickest hour and a half.
We'll be here until 4 a.m. That's fine. We're good to go.
It's worth it. Mother Goose, rock and run.
Kevin, what about you? Do you have a 90s entry in this?
I do. I don't know how unique it is, but probably most people have probably chosen to stay away from this movie, but I popped in my mind. It's Pat.
Yes.
Saturday Night Live sketch Julia Sweeney, which the first time you see it, you'll probably be like, yeah, this is a terrible movie. But then once you watch it again, there's so many catchphrases and then it just became a thing with me and my brother. We just quoted every line from it, and it just became funny, and Pat just would be like, ugh, and just whine and was so self-centered.
I love Pat.
Was just oh, you're not being supported enough. I need something for me right now. And it's well, I'm not gonna bet. It was just it's.
Can we? And I think let's all discuss this because this is important.
The second transgender character we brought up too. That was way ahead of the. I mean,
well, but now apparently everyone is anti-Pat because
it's not very supportive. It's not very supportive.
And here's the thing: as a kid, the Pat sketch was every kid loved the Pat sketch.
But I like
Pat did have a gender identity. You just didn't know what it was.
I love the last sketch ever that they have with Pat. Is that in a gym, and then the guests are trying to go, don't you have to go to the bathroom and change? And Pat kept balking at it, and finally she goes well, I guess you're right. I'm gonna go change, and then it cuts to Dennis Miller a weekend update.
It was cutting to a presidential election thing of oh no, the race is still close to call, and it goes back we knew it.
Yeah, that's what Pat is.
And then they did one too where it's I don't know if it was Adam Sandler kept don't tell us, we don't want to know.
Yes.
Somebody from the studio audience is
and I never thought of it I didn't know what I was seeing as a kid. I just like the funny voice, and I like Julia Sweeney.
It was just the way the character was. It wasn't even
listen, as a kid, I knew people that there were people that you didn't really know which way, and it wasn't making fun of them. It was just they had an androgynous name, and they had kind of an androgynous look, and you didn't know I didn't know what David Bowie was when I first saw Labyrinth. I was very confused. The bulge and the long hair and the makeup was way too much for me to figure out at that point in my life. But
you grew
made me feel strange.
But it was funny too because it was just the character. It was the character that lets itself into your house and just basically fixes the VCR while you're gone, and just been hey, Mikey works in your apartment too.
Lets itself into your house. That's amazing. See, by the way, this is one of my favorite things about having it. Why I think it's also important for the New Way to have other voices in here is that we very much circle a lot of the same films a lot of the time in the podcast between Ben, Nick, and me. We're like, it's like we got our periods are in sync now because we've done this so often that we're now starting to like kind of just hit the same stuff. But when we have a guest and this is the second time I've really noticed it. The first time was when Greg Klein was in and he brought up Tombstone, and I was like, fuck, I watched the shit out of Tombstone. I used to quote that movie all the time, but it just never came up in the podcast. Like there was never an in for it. And It's Pat's another one of those like It's Pat and Brain Candy and the Stuart Smalley Saves the World. Those are all movies that were on during that like 94 to 96 period on cable and HBO all the time.
I was obsessed with Kids in the Hall. I mean, it's not a movie, but I remember vividly coming home from school, and me and my sister would get home about the same time, and we would get there before our parents, and we had that half hour to watch Kids in the Hall before they got back. Yeah, and knew what we were watching. Chicken Lady Loves Life.
Kids in the Hall was just a fucking. I mean, and maybe this is controversial, but Kids in the Hall versus The State, I have to take Kids in the Hall by a pretty good amount, actually.
I might be with you.
I like The State.
I love The State.
And I love Stella, but I mean the classic Kids in the Hall was just fucking phenomenal.
It's totally different. It's not.
Yeah,
you can't even really.
Great
compare
theme song too, man.
Yeah, that was a really good theme song.
I think there was obviously a song before it was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I don't think they did it for the show.
Oh, I thought that was orchestrated for. That's interesting. I'd be curious to see that.
Like Polaris's hit.
Theme song. Let's dog.
Hey, that whole song is great. It's a banger.
It's true.
That was a good show. That was a good show. That was. Yeah.
That song's about the Kent State shooting.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, that's what the song's about. That's the theme song to Pete and Pete. What were you going to say?
I drew a blanket for that. No,
you can't just drop that one on there. Jesus.
No, it was just ahead of. I think the Pete and Pete was kind of ahead of its time as far as like the humor, almost like the can't do that on television. It was kind of gross out, but at the same time, it was just funny. But
and again, they didn't talk down to kids. It was very smart.
And Pete and Pete didn't
like
have
he had a
laugh
tattoo
track.
that was just classic. And,
Petunia.
Yeah.
If I ever
mom
got
made
a
him wear
tattoo.
long sleeves, and so he was always wearing big shirts that were too big for him. And
did Pete and Pete have a laugh track?
No.
See, and I think that's what makes it novel. That was entirely different than anything else at that time. Everything had a laugh track, even things that made no sense to have a laugh track, like Salute Your Shorts, where they're outdoors, camping, and there's an audience laughing at the shit that's happening.
Did Salute Your Shorts have a laugh track?
Yes.
That was that filmed in British Canada?
I thought that Salute Your Shorts had a laugh track, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. Clarissa explains it all. Definitely.
Clarissa definitely had that. Yeah. And it had the Sam.
How would you know?
Sound
How
effect.
would you know if what Ferguson said was funny if there wasn't a laugh track?
Yeah. I like the Sam theme. That was my favorite thing. Is I'm like, I want to be a character in a show that when I walk in, they play a dreamy.
Well, he had the ladder. He always came in through the window, the ladder would slap down, and then
that was one of my goals as a child.
My friend Sam Tillman, when I invited him over, I would literally invite my other friends about 10 minutes before Sam
to play,
so that I could get ready and go. Hey Sam, I did it. I lived your dream.
That's my dream.
I did it.
Well, I guess that'll never come true for me.
But he gave it away. He gave it away.
That's right. So for my 90s flick, I picked a movie that I forced Nick to watch recently that he had not seen. It is from the very tail end of the 90s. 1999 is a movie that is so much in just part of the 90s that you can't get away from it. And it is Doug Liman's follow-up to Swingers called Go. Go is easily the best. So in the 90s, after
that was like late 90s, like
99, right at the turn of the decade, and this is the period when everyone was doing bad Tarantino true romance knockoffs. Everyone wanted to do the next Pulp Fiction, and so there were a ton of fucking terrible Pulp Fiction knockoff wannabes, except Go was easily the best
had
of
like
the
a
ones.
Dazed and Confused meets like film noir kind of a
it's a great cross story. You got four main storylines. You've got a girl that needs to make her rent, so she decides she's gonna buy some drugs from a guy and sell them off, and she gets kind of caught up in a thing. You've got these two actors who are caught up in a sting because they got busted for pot. and they're going to lose their TV show. So that the cops, listen, if you catch 2 more people for us, we'll take the charges. Jay Moore and Scott Wolf.
Okay.
And then you've got the 4 guys going to Vegas, which is one of my favorite parts of it, with Taye Diggs and Breckenmeyer.
You love a good road trip.
I love a good road trip scene. And then you've got the girl that gets left with the drug dealer during the bad drug thing that becomes like collateral. That's hanging out, played by Katie Holmes, and the drug dealer played by Timothy Oliphant. And what I love about Go is that it's totally over the top and ridiculous, but it is the best version of good pop culture conversation in that kind of heist storyline. And you've got
very dialogue heavy, very.
And I mean, you've got great.
You didn't force me to watch that. I loved it.
No, I mean, but I did force you. You didn't wind up enjoying it, but I still foisted it upon you.
I was interested.
I said you're going to sit down and watch this movie. I mean, there's
it's that one part of the '90s you were always just messing.
I think Nick's favorite part was probably Timothy Oliphant going off on the Family Circus cartoon, which is one of my favorite bits. And it's such a Seinfeld moment. Yeah. It's literally in a diner. He's a drug dealer. He's there with Katie Holmes, the ingenue that's been kind of like saddled with them, and he just starts talking about how he loves reading the Sunday comics until you get to the fucking Family Circus, just waiting there to suck and ruin everything.
That scene spoke to my fucking soul.
Which I think everybody could relate to.
This is the last 2 minutes of the movie, and Nick was like, "Yes."
My Uncle Tim can corroborate that for years I railed against the Family Circus. Bill Keane, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch.
Do you think we can do like a Me Too, Not Me crossover, like Family Circus style?
Do not co-op a meaningful program.
No,
it's making fun of the assholes.
Jeffy.
It's making
Fucking
fun of the
Jeffy.
assholes that say "not me." They're like the little asshole from the Family Circus. I think this can work, but we'll get to that next week.
With the animated.
Number 3.
God.
Kevin, do you have a third movie you want to talk about? Or maybe the
closer
2000, a little close. But if you got another 80s or 90s, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do.
It's Showgirl starring Elizabeth Hurley.
Do it, baby.
Well, trying to think of something that was. I mean, from this is still '90s, but I could say Big Lebowski. But that's obviously, of course,
that's
very popular.
That's a very popular one.
And,
the big what?
Big Lebowski. Yeah,
I was gonna talk about.
Do I make you horny, baby?
Really close to doing that instead of Go, but.
Kevin, did I tell you I went to an Austin Powers themed bar in Los Angeles?
No.
Yeah, baby.
It exists in 2018 with a real impersonator and a mini-me at the door, which felt kind of exploitive, but they had the Pussycat Swingers Lounge with like smoking drinks and like 2 floors and a Volkswagen Beetle inside.
Is it like you go to the bathroom and it's always playing at the urinals?
Oh,
it's like
heavy dose of Quincy Jones. The impersonator would sing for 15 minutes on the hour. 15 minutes he would sing. Like, he would sing the
Mrs. Will you?
Yes. Yes. What's the name?
Ming T.
Ming T.
On the BBC. On the BBC.
You know Matthew Speed was in that band?
Yeah. He was the head of
He was the
Ming T.
guitarist.
I know Suzanne Hoffs was too.
No way.
Yeah, it was all like
the supergroup.
Yeah.
Susanna Hoffs was in that?
Ming T, baby.
No shit.
That was the BBC was one of the ones we did for our when I dressed up as Austin Powers in '97 at my graduation party.
I thought you went to your graduation as Austin Powers for a second.
No,
like,
so
yes.
they had this deal at our school called there's one thing was called Project Graduation, one was called Grad Night. I forget which is which. Grad Night, I think, was when you went to Disney for this like overnight trip, and they closed the park down other than a bunch of schools, and like our artist that year was Britney Spears. You could see Britney Spears for free or whatever. And then Project Graduation was on graduation night. They rented out this really nice, like kind of like dinner club at the Jack Nicklaus Club in North Palm. And you went there after graduation at like 10 p.m.
You should go there and order an Arnold Palmer just to be an asshole.
Yes. Well, I couldn't drink at that time.
But I think now they call it Golden Bear. It's like, it's Golden Bear.
I saw that.
Their idea was kind of smart. You from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m., you were in this thing with everyone from we had a small graduating class of 60 kids. So you were in there so that you didn't go out and go get drunk at a party or go driving or whatever. You were locked in this place. They served dinner. They served this like weird breakfast at 4 a.m. like a breakfast buffet. It was fucking bizarre.
Wow.
But
4 a.m.
So you could, you literally went from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. Like it was that was the deal.
So you couldn't go have sex.
So you couldn't go fuck
Drink
and
or
you
have
couldn't go
sex,
drink
yeah.
or
But,
you could
sex.
you
finds
could
a
actually.
way.
There was plenty of sex going on in the bathrooms and probably a little bit of drinking too. But you were kind of stuck there, so everyone just like fucking had a good time. And we did a.
How was having sex in the bathroom, Matt?
I did not. I didn't say.
How was watching other people
didn't-
have sex in the
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It smelled
peeking
strange.
peeking underneath the stall.
It smelled terrible, but it was wonderful to watch. It was a great dinner and a show. I had my eggs and breakfast for brekkie, and I watched some people have some morning sex. It's good. But they had a talent competition, and
Early morning sex.
So we did Austin Power, and this must have been 2 weeks after the movie came out. Like we graduated in May. The movie came out, I think, the beginning of May. So it was like the end of the month. And I got like this bad chest wig and like a hair wig and then bad teeth. And then we did songs. I cut together on cassette tape. I literally recorded things from the Austin Power soundtrack. I did the opening number.
That was a good soundtrack.
It was a great soundtrack.
Like the actual CD was.
Yeah, I bought that. I didn't even have. At that point, maybe I probably had a CD. I think, but we recorded stitched together like a 6-minute sizzle reel of Austin Power. My friend Casey played saxophone, and we did this whole run through of Austin Powers.
I can't
it was
believe
amazing.
you didn't get laid.
The ones that gotten really the cool kids did "Sweat from My Balls" from CB4, and they got big bouncy balls
Because they said balls.
because they were cool, and they beat us. But the girls, there was a group of girls that did the Brady Bunch, and the girls really liked the Austin Powers thing. So apparently they were geeky as well and had seen this movie, but no one else knew what it was. Like at that point, no one else had seen Austin Powers. They just didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
I remember, when it came out. I was thinking I was a year behind. I would have been a junior. So
yeah. That's good stuff. All right, well, let's go to our final round. Nick, do you have a 2000s hit for us?
I don't think I got my third one yet.
Oh,
but I'm just gonna get. This is all.
That is your third. This is your third one. This 2000s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Yeah.
You can do whatever.
Is it going to
Forget
be
the
All
decade.
Dogs Go to Heaven too?
All dogs might not go to heaven.
Yeah, I went with I'm gonna go with my sister sent me because I.
That's fine.
It's funny, like you kind of grow out of that movie you watch all the time. You know, it's never the same. As when
Doesn't
you're a
always
kid.
hold up,
Yeah, or that,
You
or
just can't watch it as many times.
Well, there's sometimes there's
as a kid, you're that tolerance. Like you watch it a million fucking times, and I can't do that anymore.
I think it depends on because I think a lot of that's happened with TV where you get obsessed with something. There were a few movies in the 2000s and recently that I watched the movie and I was obsessed with either the world that it was building or the concept. So I maybe I didn't watch it 100 times, but I read a ton about it or about how it was made or about something like that on there. But anything from your childhood is good.
Yeah, let me run through the honorable mentions.
Okay.
The Kathy Rigby.
What was your third though?
What?
Did you do your third?
Well, he's got a list.
Not yet. This is my third, but I don't have 2000. I don't have.
Okay,
anything
that's fine.
So I have a whole list.
Life ended after the 90s. Let's face it. Let's after the 90s.
No, just do your third, and then we'll get to honorable
cares?
mentions after.
When my happiness died.
Yeah, that's when.
Go for it.
Party's over, pal.
Honorable mention: Kathy Rigby's Peter Pan production.
Great one.
I watched that a scary amount of times.
Or the cartoon.
I watched the original Peter Pan and the Dark Pirates.
And the Pirates, yeah.
What?
We've talked about this with Tim Curry as Captain Hook.
We talked about
shit! I saw a clip of that. That's insane.
So fucking good.
I'll watch that.
So fucking good.
It all comes back to it's
Tim
all
Curry.
in a circle.
What about Bob?
A classic.
Good.
I mean, that was the go-to family pizza night movie.
Yeah.
When we couldn't think of what we were gonna watch, we put on What About Bob? League of Their Own. I watched a million times.
Do you know the song?
Big. What?
The League of Their Own song.
Team near and far.
Canadians and Swedes. We're one for all. We're all for one. We're all Americans. And then there's the really sad, slow song that they do, like the anthem when they see at the end of it.
When Tank Girl beats
When
the Peaches.
play ball, they do this like weird harmony thing. I figured you would know the harmony.
Oh yeah, with yes. We could, with a little more prep. We'll do that for the next episode.
I'm not even there. I just.
Oh, because I'm gonna get you there. Don't you worry.
But anyway,
I've seen it. I just never. Yeah.
Well, let's watch it again. Let's see. We have 3 movies lined up for after the podcast. Let's do it. But the one movie that I do bring up, but we haven't like delved into, it's a similar theme to Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme. In the sense that you have this misfit who kind of discovers himself and realizes that he is worthy, that he is worth something.
Venom. No. Okay, sorry.
Well, that could count as your 2000.
I'm talking about Venom. I'm sorry. I'm done with Venom. But Harry Nielsen's The Point.
Oh yeah.
Another animation.
Never
narrated by Ringo Starr.
Oh my God!
So he
never heard of this.
He had a point on his head. No.
Wait, that's not a song for The Point.
No, that's not.
Kevin just made that up. Yeah. You summarized the plot, but that is not a song. It's not a song.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
I noticed you were going to have eggs for breakfast today.
That's not in the film. It's an animated film.
like Garth doing the Cary Grant impersonation in Wayne's World 2. Hello,
Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I hope your sleep was enjoyable. I trust it was good. Party on. Continue.
Okay. Sorry. I will continue.
Sorry.
So, animation, it's called The Point. Really clever idea. In the world of The Point, everything is a point, Matt. Houses, steep, sharp roofs. Dogs. Literal dog. The dogs had like pointed. Everyone has a cone head. Literal cone head. Everything is sharp. Everything is pointed. Everything has a point. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Everything has a point. Except for one day, there is a child that's born in the town called Oblio.
Oh.
And he's pointless. Unfortunately, Oblio is completely fucking pointless. So his mom crafts this dunce hat that he wears to try to fit in with other kids, but he's always different, and he's always kind of, pushing the envelope, and very bright, but kind of gets in where he shouldn't get in, and ends up making enemies with the Duke's son. Ends up pulling strings and has Oblio banished to the pointless forest, where nothing has a point.
Okay.
Of course, he finds out that everything does have a point in a way, Matt. Everything has a point.
Oh, his penis.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it now. I was trying to figure out where
But
the point was.
he only realized it when he stood upside down.
Yes.
It's just not a literal point, Matt. Play on words is great. Harry Nielsen took a lot of mushrooms and he came up with this kids movie, and it ended up being very poignant. The soundtrack is, you like Harry Nielsen, right, Kev? Yeah. Harry Nielsen, my dad loved Harry Nielsen. We grew up listening to his music.
And really listen to all his stuff.
And that's the soundtrack to The Point is as good as Nielsen Schmielsen some days for me. And even the Far Side, the hip hop group, sampled Arrow, one of the flagship songs, right? But another fun fact about The Point,
arrows have a point. I just put that together.
Yes, that's very good, Matt. I think you firmly grasped the concept. One concept of the film.
I did it.
But it's really weird, cool 70s animation. It's a watercolor, and it's still
it's almost
animation.
Not really Shel Silverstein, but
you're right.
It kind of has that sort of weird feel, I guess. I don't know.
He's definitely right. It is. I never
watch
thought
it
on
on YouTube. I think. I don't know. I've yet to see a DVD copy or.
Well, you know why?
You might have to go to you.
You know why?
No one put this to be.
Here's the fun
fact. It's in the Apple Records vault.
No, it exists, but different versions are kind of. There are rarer versions of The Point because it had 4 different narrators, and I'll go from the most ubiquitous to the rarest. Right, the one that mostly airs and you can get on DVD is narrated by Ringo Starr. He was a good fan, a good friend of Harry Nielsen. Another narrator was Harry Nielsen himself, who narrates it in the soundtrack. Yeah. I guess there's only 3 narrators. And the third one, the rarest of them all, Alan Thicke. I only
got a good
saw
voice.
I only saw it once on network TV.
Mike.
Mike.
I only saw it once,
Ben.
and I can't find it anywhere online. And it was my favorite narrator.
I'm a big Alan Thicke fan. I'm not afraid to say it. I mean,
What about his son?
Rest his soul. You know what's funny about his son?
I like the
his son sounds
Different Strokes theme song. I thought that was
his son
Facts
sounds
of Life theme
exactly
song.
like him when he talks. You don't realize it, but he was on Stern years ago, and I was like, oh my god, he sounds alarmingly like Alan Thicke. Like
He
it's
should
kind of
narrate the
impressive.
next point.
He's not doing anything else.
Well, so I remember one of my favorite concerts in LA was
Robin Thicke.
And it was a free concert. No, it's not. It was not the Blurred Lines tour. It's my favorite place, a Spaceland. They did on Harry Nilsson's birthday because he died really young. It's a great documentary on Netflix about his life and his last days.
I know nothing about him.
Who is?
I mean, he wrote One Is the Loneliest Number. He wrote a lot of songs for other people because he had a terrible, paralyzing fear of going on tour. So he recorded for himself.
It's like Sia.
Yeah.
It's actually true. It's her whole thing.
But Sia has played way more live than he did.
She just recently, but for the first 10 years of her career, she was terrified to go out
the
on
weird
tour.
mask and the wig and stuff.
I mean, before that, she just wrote. She wrote Diamond. She wrote all Rihanna's songs, Beyonce's songs. She wrote for everybody because she was afraid. She didn't like the way she looked.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to go out anywhere.
He was like that. But he was a brilliant songwriter, right? But he struggled with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Really interesting guy. My dad kind of raised me on him. So that was my dad's way of introducing me to one of his favorite artists because he inexplicably, came up with a kid's film that was a really good message, and I'm pretty sure really it was mushrooms that got the idea. In LA, they're doing a live reading of The Point, and Tim Heidecker is going to be the narrator. So that'll be the fourth, and it was produced by. Oh, and his son is playing live music. Is playing his music. I would kill.
Is he dead?
To see that. Harry Nilsson is dead.
Okay.
He died real young.
Okay.
I think I don't even know if he made it to 50.
He had cancer, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any more you want to talk about, Kevin?
Oh, let's see. 2000s or it's
wherever you want. I mean, we can go wherever.
I gotta say, well, just a movie that I can remember liking, and it's sort of well known, but probably a lot of people haven't actually sat all the way through it because it's a real long movie. But it's Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Which was a big,
that clip.
Yeah,
I love.
Yeah, I think I have a clip from that right here. That's from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
During the credits, if you watch it long enough.
They invented the hidden
but just with the music and just, I mean, it's not a lot of dialogue, but very, close-ups, very kind of, intense, moments. But
when did you get into when did you actually watch that movie for the first time?
When I sat down, I was about 16, I think, and it was just one of those things. You knew the and you knew, and you're just watching the movie. Clint Eastwood, and you're just like, well, what is this movie about? And then you sit down, and it just kind of, you get sucked in. But it is like a 3-hour movie. And then if you're watching on TV, you got commercials, so it may be like 4 or 5 hours.
Well, it's good, though, that you can watch it on TV because it really doesn't have anything they need to cut out of it. So you're
still
getting the whole movie.
Yeah, it wasn't really,
It's good. It's a 3-hour movie. You need pee breaks. Yeah. And the commercials are great.
Yeah.
I was reading some meme the other day that was like that kids with DVR will never understand that panic moment you have when something went to commercial break to run and pee or fix a snack or do something to try to get back before the commercial's over. It's on. Yeah, the only other one I had in mind that's from the 2000s is a movie called Rules of Attraction.
From the year 2000.
That's got to be early 2000s.
Like 2002.
But it was a book too. It was 80s, and the book was written in the 80s.
Yeah, right? Bret Easton Ellis wrote it. He wrote Less Than Zero. He wrote an amazing book, American Psycho, Lunar Park, which is easily my favorite of his. And that's kind of what this movie did. This movie turned me on to Bret Easton Ellis. I'd seen Less Than Zero when I was younger, and it's a movie I actually really want to revisit because I remember liking it, but I was too young to understand anything about it. But the movies, I mean, it's Robert Downey Jr. and Jamie Gertz and the guy from Mannequin, Andrew McCarthy.
Yeah.
By the way, shit, I should have talked about Mannequin because holy fuck did I watch the hell out of Mannequin when I was a kid.
Not surprised.
Oh my god, that and Weird Science I watched a lot. In fact, I almost
I sense a theme.
I almost
Sears Catalogue.
almost was going to talk about Weird Science. and Chet's greatest line.
I was gonna say we can't get the whole thing.
I was waiting for the drums to come in.
I mean, I can. Well,
play it one more time.
I'm going to give you one line from Weird Science, the movie, my favorite, by rest in peace Bill Paxton as Chet.
Feeling kind of queasy. How about a nice, greasy pork sandwich served in a dirty ashtray?
That's when he's trying to make Anthony Michael Hall puke after he's been drinking all night.
Man, you know what she said to me, man? You know what she said to me, man?
License, Lisa. Weird Science I was obsessed with as a kid. Which, yeah. So, I'll play this lightly. I'll play this lightly while I talk about Rules of Attraction.
Give me that Boingo, baby.
But, Rules of Attraction is another one of those great multiple storylines intersecting. I mean, Roger Avery directed it. Roger Avery wrote Pulp Fiction. He wrote the story for Pulp Fiction with Tarantino filling in the rest of it on there. But and True Romance. He did work on that story as well. It's the book is almost unreadable if you've ever tried to read Rules of Attraction.
Well, because it's written through every character has like it's like a journal entry or something.
It's written in stream of consciousness from every character's point of view. So it's literally there's no punctuation
and in Sanskrit.
Everything's in lowercase. And it's just like, and I was going over here and I want to talk to the store and I want to go to this and I want to go to this and I was doing this class. This class was bullshit, and like. Everything is just these long paragraphs of run-on, just fucking craziness.
The movie does a good job of keeping that kind of frenetic pace.
Well,
to it.
the one scene of the movie that plays exactly like the book is Victor's trip abroad, where Victor goes to Europe. And it's just this whole thing. I went here. I did this. His greatest line in it, which is...
And it's so quick, the shots are like...
I love this one. He goes, which is the line... sneak into the Guinness factory and steal some stout so good my dick goes hard. And it's exactly how he delivers it. Like, boom, 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 going through all this shit. But what my favorite is... I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut off the Weird Science for this one.
It's time.
I almost forgot it was going.
The best...
Just playing in my head every day, 24/7, so I can't tell.
Did I not load that clip on here? I didn't. Oh, I forgot to do it last minute. But there's a weird scene with Fred Savage, who had not appeared in much of anything up to this point. He did Wonder Years. He did a show called Working, and then he kind of disappeared. And he shows up.
I love Working.
Working was great. I was a big fan of that show.
With
and that
the
girl,
Devo cover of Working at a Coal Mine?
Yes. Oh, so that show was so fucking... We watched a lot of that in college. And so there's this great scene where James Van Der Beek, easily the best James Van Der Beek has ever been, I think, is in Rules of Attraction by a long shot.
I can agree with that.
And
he's really good in the B in Apartment 23.
He was good in that, but I mean, he gets gets to work a little bit for it in Rules.
He's scary.
I love it.
He's scary.
He's freaky, and he's going to collect money from Fred Savage. Fred Savage is high as a kite on his bed, and he's putting together a clarinet during the whole scene, and he's just like he's like way gone, and then he literally shoots heroin in between his toes, and he just stops. Oh, can't feel my dick. Can't feel my dick. Oh, and I was like, Fred Savage just did heroin and said he can't feel his dick. This is the best movie this ever been made.
And then Winnie Cooper walked in.
Yeah. He wants everybody to forget about Kevin Arnold.
Yeah, that was definitely
Wayne
his...
pushed him a little too far.
And then Neil Patrick Harris followed his lead in Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, by playing himself, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rules of Attraction is just it was one of those I watched with a bunch of my friends, and I became really obsessed with Bret Easton Ellis, and tried reading a lot of his stuff, which I didn't love until I got to Lunar Park, which we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast. But if you were looking for a real heavy book, but a really, really great book, Lunar Park is fucking phenomenal. And it's especially if you have any like father-son issues, it's a real good book to go through, because it's completely it's literally about a father-son thing, but it calls back all of Bret Easton Ellis's books in weird ways. Like there's a Patrick Bateman in it that's not the Patrick Bateman from the books, but maybe someone that he might have been based on, or someone that's taking up the mantle based on having read it. It's a really interesting book. But that and Rules of Attraction, great fucking Bret Easton Ellis, not Ellison. Do we have any runners up? Anything anyone wants to talk about? Anything
8 days
get
a
off your
week.
chest? God damn it! It's
played,
on my list.
No kidding. You played Oingo Boingo and it reminded me that, like, oh, you know, well, I didn't watch that with my sister. I watched that by myself. And it was right when I got into Oingo Boingo, and they almost exclusively do the soundtrack to it just by chance. It's not how I discovered it. And it was like it's sort of a precursor to American Pie, with Kerry Russell as the only notable.
It's even better. I replaced
really quirky.
I replaced 8 Days a Week with Go on my list,
kidding.
100%.
I didn't know you watched it that much.
We
talked about it, but I didn't.
Well, I mean, the best friend's name is Matt, who decided that he's going to give up on finding women altogether and just find new ways to match. It's Flick
it's Schwartz.
Schwartz from Christmas Story.
And he fucks a watermelon.
And he winds up fucking Catherine Hicks from Star Trek 4, who's the MILF in the town.
Yeah.
But for those of you who've not seen...
The scene when they talk about boobs is gold.
For those of you who've not seen 8 Days a Week, the premise is very simple. There's a kid lives across the street from this really gorgeous girl played by a very young 1997 Kerry Russell. He decides he wants to woo her, and he loves his grandfather. His grandfather is like his biggest proponent. And he says the grandfather urges him to camp out on her lawn the entire summer.
That's how he got his grandmother.
And that's how he got his grandmother. And there's all these flashbacks they do to the grandfather's life, but it's played by the main kid as him in these like black and white things with a fake mustache, and they're all done like old movies. They're fucking great. But he camps out on her lawn all summer while she goes through boyfriends.
And the asshole boyfriend is named Nick.
Yes, and she keeps parading out in tighter and smaller outfits and all this stuff. Like
the asshole's named Nick, and the goofy friend is named
Matt.
There
we go. That's a precursor. But it is an exceptionally well told, well done little movie that no one's ever fucking seen. It's impossible to find anywhere at this point. I probably could download it somewhere, but it used to be on cable a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Comedy Central.
No. Well, it was funny. So
I feel like I've seen it just on TV.
Early Nick and I were the ones that watched. Ken Poser and I watched 8 Days a Week. Like constantly. Wow. Anytime it would show up on TV, he'd be like, "Hey, come over. 8 Days a Week's on. Let's we're gonna fucking watch
kidding.
this."
I loved that movie.
So fucking good.
It was very, and it was like at a time where I was like growing up and like not good with girls, and like it was perfect timing for that movie for me.
Well, and they intersperse a whole rear window.
97.
Luckily, I shed that awkwardness.
they do like a whole rear window thing as well, where there's like because he's camping out on her lawn, he's watching all of the neighbors, and so he thinks there's a murder, but it turns out it's this thing, and he learns everything about all of everyone in the neighborhood, and at the end of it, he fucking gets the girl. Just fucking
reminds me of Angus, the movie Angus.
Oh, Angus is a good one. Yeah,
I watched Angus too.
Angus is a good one. I like both of those. But yeah, 8 Days a Week and Angus. So all of these are. I'll post links to these movies.
You should. Everyone should see
podcast.
every film we mentioned
ever in the podcast. Yeah. I'm gonna hire some intern to just listen to all of our podcasts and make a list of all the movies we've talked about, so we know which ones not to talk about again.
We're still going to talk about UHF.
You're only doomed to keep mentioning the same ones.
This is true. Well, I think that will...
hey guys, there's the Paul Lynde. Weird Al and
Yeah, I haven't talked about Apollo 13.
Alien.
That's a good one. Ooh, a Ron Howard director episode just to piss Ben off, because Ben doesn't like Ron Howard as a director. We should just pick all director episodes of, like, let's do a Chris Nolan episode, Ben. Let's do a Ron Howard episode, Ben. Do a Michael Bay episode, Ben.
I'll do the Bryce Dallas Howard episode.
All right. Put it back in your pants, Nick. Thank you so much for listening to the New Way podcast. We hope you learned some new movies tonight to go out and watch and take a look at. And we will be back soon with some big episodes coming up. We've got our cold reading episode. We have, unbeknownst to my co-host, I'm going to be sending an email out tomorrow with rules for our next musical episode. It's time. We are ready to do our musical part 2 and even more good fun shenanigans throughout November. So thanks so much for listening to the New Way podcast. Remember to go out and vote, and we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.
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 Say cheers.
The chairs.
Thank you.